Welcome. It is Show Pony Live. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. I was watching his facial reaction the entire time. Hello and welcome into the show. I am Chris Childers. I actually literally just got off a full ride like 15 minutes ago. And Tom Hart, my guest on the show today, he just got out of the dentist chair 15 minutes ago. So we're both fresh off of doing something extremely important. Tom Hart, welcome into Show Pony Live, buddy. How are you for the first time being a guest? By the way, I'm going to bother you often, just so you know. But how are you, sir?
I think the numbness is going to wear off in about 15 minutes. It was a great dental visit.
Don't you dare.
Just out of my face. It's really hard right now. They drilled in here.
Tom
I'm
Hart.
fantastic. I'm
Don't you dare,
fantastic.
Hart.
How about the first time you have me out, I'm fresh out of the dentist chair with a numbing agent. That's the worst, by the way. You get in the car and like you're drooling all over yourself, and you just hope you don't pull up next to somebody who can see that, you still have the Novocaine on that side of your face. But I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I had to do a show once on, was it on College Sports? I think it might have been Bleacher Report Radio when we still were doing Bleacher Report. And I was not thinking about the fact that I was going to be numbed up. I don't know what I was thinking I was going to the dentist for, but I went in there and they gave me the numbing stuff. So I get the treatment and I'm like, oh God, what? Because I'm not like going to tell her no when she starts doing the thing. But then I have a show, like, I don't know, it was like starting a half hour later. In the first 30 minutes, I know that Allie or somebody's got a tape, Tom. It's one of the most, it was like that episode of Seinfeld with Kramer. You know what I mean? With Mel Torme. That's exactly what it was like. I mean, it must have been the most horrendous 30 minutes of Sirius XM radio ever, but it happened. So thank you, pal, for joining the show today. We started this podcast like 2 weeks ago. And
what took you so long to get to me?
Well, listen, you're like my third guest.
I know where I stand. It's totally fine.
No, you're my fourth guest. I had Matt Berry, Jason Horowitz.
Oh, Jason's the best.
Allie was the first guest.
She's
and then
queen.
You're number 4. You're top 5. And a lot of the shows have just been like solo rants and stuff. But I said it's a Monday. It wasn't like a super busy college sports weekend. It'd be nice to kind of get to know Tom Hart.
Let's go.
I mean, you're an SEC grad, even though you didn't go to the school that was in the SEC at the time. So it's kind of weird how your life has kind of come full circle in an odd way. So wanted to get into all of that and your time at Columbia, which everybody tells me is this incredible broadcasting school. And I want to know what makes it so damn special, because all I ever hear is how great it is. So we'll get into all of that. But Tom, I do need to tell everybody, and I started it 2 weeks ago, I have my very first sponsor.
Yes.
You might see in the upper left-hand corner there a little QR code, sir. Very exciting stuff, because Show Pony Live is now brought to you by Igniter Tickets. Whether it's a stadium or a local venue, Igniter delivers affordable, powerful ticketing solutions for every event. Scan that QR code now to see how they can help you unlock smarter ticketing, stronger branding, and standout experiences. Igniter, the software behind your sellout. Go check it out. A sponsor to Show Pony Live. I know these people. I know they do incredible work. They've done a lot of stuff up in Canada. They're trying to expand in the United States, but wonderful people. Check them out at Igniter Tickets and scan that QR code. All right, Tom Hart, you have become a man who, at least in my eyes, is associated with the SEC. You're a guy who calls a lot of SEC games. But what does your career look like at this point? If you were to meet somebody that didn't know you, and you were out at a school function or, hanging out with, some couple that you've never met, and they say, hey, I've never seen you. What do you do for a living? What would you tell them you do?
It happens a lot more often than you would think. Living in Atlanta, Georgia, people look at me and they go, really? Well, what sports do you call? Have I seen your work? And I go, yeah, I don't
Chances are,
know.
yes, you have. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm for 99.8% of the broadcast, I'm just a voice. And this may surprise you. I don't know. You know, we haven't interacted outside of a show or an arena, whatever. I see you at the SEC basketball tournament, especially. But I don't know how you are in public if you present as a broadcaster. I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that do. My high school
I don't.
basketball announcer is a gentleman named Dave Hunziker, who's now the voice of Oklahoma State. And he presented in everything. He would walk in, you go, oh, that guy broadcasts, right? I don't really do that. I try to
No.
stay low key. I don't wear any logos on flights. I just want to blend in and focus on my games and get to work. So, anyway, quick Hunziker story. And he is fantastic. He's beloved by the Oklahoma State community for good reason. We're playing in a basketball tournament in Sedalia, Missouri, my sophomore year of high school. And we're behind Dave. Me and my best friend are behind Dave at the McDonald's line. And he comes up and he goes, "I'd like a quarter pounder with cheese and make it supersized with fries, please." And we're like, man, that guy's a
Yeah.
broadcaster,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that guy's got the voice and the
Yep.
presence, and boom, he's hammering his order. I'm the opposite. So I usually just go with, yeah, if you watch SEC football, you've probably seen me or our crew. Oh, who do you work with? Jordan Rogers, Cole Kublik. Oh, I love those guys. Which is
Yeah. I'm
normal.
that guy.
So yeah, well,
I'm that
I'm
guy.
the other
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, I'm that other guy. So, but I love it. And usually when I meet fans and they want to talk about broadcasting or what I do, because everyone's a fan of something. Like everybody is a fan of something. You might be a fan of thoroughbred racing. You might be a fan of soccer. You might be a fan of SEC football. I want to know what they're interested in. Well, what do you watch? What did you watch this weekend? You're sitting at home on a Sunday night. Are you watching Sunday afternoon? Are you watching golf? Are you watching football? Like, what's your passion? And I think you learn so much about people when you go there. And then usually, especially living in Atlanta, it turns into, oh my gosh. I mean, I've in the last I went on my son's senior spring break a couple weeks ago, and met a lot of parents that I didn't know, or spent time with some parents that I hadn't spent time with. And we talked about everything from Pat Sullivan blowing shots at the end of big North Carolina basketball games in the 90s to, there's a theme here, I guess, Kevin O'Sullivan and his celebrity status in Gainesville, Florida, to, it was then who's going to be the next Carolina coach. There's a lot of Kentucky talk. There's a lot of Calipari talk. And I love what drives fans and what drives their passion.
Did I lose Tom Hart? I think I might have lost him for a second. We'll try to reconnect with Tom in a minute. He brought up horse racing. I was watching that Cherie DeVoe horse racing deal this past weekend with the Kentucky Derby. It was unfreaking believable. I was so just enamored and taken with it and incredibly impressed. Can I text Tom and just tell him I lost you? Lost you. If you can log back in. That's the beauty of when you're doing a radio show or a podcast or whatever, and the damn internet and all that stuff decides it doesn't want to work. But we'll try to get Tom back in here in a little bit. But that damn Derby, man, I was so inspired, incredibly just like fired up from the Kentucky Derby. This Cherie DeVoe becoming the first woman trainer to ever win. Oh my God. I watch all the coverage. I don't know what it was. Typically I'll put it on when the Derby's on and I'll be like, oh, when's the post time? And I'll put it on maybe 30 minutes before and hear my old Kentucky home and, kind of get the crash course and, hear the interviews and watch the owners and the horses, be able to go to their stables, but, and walk them up to the starting gate. But I kind of watched it all this time. He was talking about things that you love, and I fell in love. And when I was watching that Cherie DeVoe, I have watched the video of her celebrating the Derby win no less than 50 times. And just the excitement. I mean, that's what competition's all about. Tom Hart is back. I see him in the standby room. There he is. Look at how handsome. How are you, sir? I don't know what happened to you, but you were talking about things people love. Tom, I was like super duper in love with the Kentucky Derby this weekend. You were talking about things that people watch and they're into. And I'm not like a big horse racing fan. And I don't know if the Kentucky Derby caught your attention at all, but like this whole Cherie DeVoe, first woman trainer winning the Derby, like I have been watching the videos constantly. I've been like my algorithm now is constantly getting golden tempo videos. Like I am in on this.
Have
Did
you
you watch
ever?
it?
No, I was on the air or just right before going on the air. I was in Norman, and I couldn't find. I mean, no excuse. Not like I couldn't have pulled it up on my computer, but there was no TV in the press box. Like normally, there's a TV in the press box. The guys at Vandy, by the way, have been studying up for the Derby for like 2 weeks. Every time I've done a game there, it's on the horse racing channel. So I missed it. But I just want to ask you this: I've had the pleasure of going to Keeneland multiple times on visits to Lexington, both in the fall and the spring, and we did a couple shoots out there in advance of football games specifically to go to the backside of the track or to go out there when they're training. It's the most beautiful aspect
Gorgeous.
of sport I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the animals are absolutely stunning. The love that they get from the trainers and the guys that work the stable is amazing. And it's the most down to earth sport I've ever been around. And this is just ancillary because I've only been as a fan or like a hanger on trying to get into, do some feature stuff. It is amazing. And what a race that was. Obviously I saw it after the fact, but just every bit of that. And don't you think also, Childers, that there's a bit of like, in this day and age, when everybody's so fractured, right, that there's this bit of old school nostalgia and
Yeah.
simpleness when it comes to something like horse racing? We don't have boxing anymore, right? Like we don't have boxing. We only get the Olympics and the 100-meter every 4 years. Like this is sport at its most simple and direct and beautiful.
I really miss competition being enough because
Yeah.
now it's all about money, money, money. And I know the Derby is money, 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 but the horses don't know. They're just out there running their ass off. And you and I come from an era. We're sitting here in our 40s or whatever you are, and I'm one of those guys that just like I remember when Michael Jordan just cared about winning and the money came with it. And now you cover the SEC. I mean, you've covered it now for a while. How would you describe, has money changed the product at all? Or does the product still feel the same as you're calling it now that the participants certainly have a little bit more jingle in their pocket?
I think where money gets in the way is not necessarily the money in your pocket. It's the risk of losing out on that next paycheck. When you have a star of the Boston Celtics who doesn't play in a game 7 because his knee is barking, what are we doing? Like, where is the competition? Where is the I'm here for my team no matter what? Willis Reed, with all respect, will never happen again because somebody would say, "Oh, you're going to be a free agent in a year. You really want to? Do we really want to risk it?" I think it's been there for a while on the baseball side of things, and I don't mean to be a prisoner of the moment because it's this time of year, but baseball and nurturing your star pitcher and nurturing him not only to get drafted high, but then also to be in line for that next star pitcher when it comes to recruiting. Really, since the Ben McDonald era, which he was overused and chewed up and spit out, and Skip Bertman has told him as much, and he has shared as much publicly. He was still 1-1. He still went number 1 overall, but his professional career, though it was lengthy, didn't have the upside that he was capable of as a college pitcher because of the overuse. I say all that to say that, I was, and I don't want to call anybody in particular out, but this is how it works now. I had a game this weekend where the starting pitcher had a barking knee, and I don't know the seriousness of it, so I'm not judging on that regard. But the coach said, "Listen, he's got a bright future. I'm not going to risk any of that." And so I think baseball's kind of ahead of the game in that respect. The money aspect on the other side, I think it impacts teams when the going gets rough. I think you have mercenaries, too strong a word, but if you're playing just for hire versus playing because these are my boys and this is the front of the jersey, which may be a little too nostalgic for modern times. I think that when the going gets a little bit rough, you shut it down earlier, and I think that's human nature. We've seen that in the pros for a long time. We're seeing some of that in the college game. Um, you know, I, I hesitate looking at these draft lists of guys who didn't play to that potential in college because of a minor ache or a minor pain, and I wonder what could have been. And I'm Chris, not me being judgmental of them because of the era in which they were brought up. But yeah, I think it absolutely has impacted how the athletes think,
Mm-hmm.
probably in the college level, how their parents think, or the protection that their agents are trying to instill in them to make sure they get the biggest payday if they haven't already gotten it.
Tom Hart is our guest here. We are talking about his career. We're talking about baseball. We're talking about the SEC. He's made a life in the SEC, calling games in that league, football, basketball, baseball, the SEC tournament. I'll see him at. He's become Mr. Southeastern Conference, if you will, and he's a Columbia guy. He's a Missouri graduate. So he ended up going to an SEC school without even knowing it because he went to a Big 12 school at the time. How would you describe your life traveling in and out of these SEC towns? What have you learned over time? What have your relationships been like at the different schools? Do you have favorite people, favorite places? I mean, you've kind of developed a home in the southeastern part of this country.
Yeah, I've been really lucky that I've been able to ingrain myself in this conference, and it's really it's a 12-month a year job, but it's a 9-month schedule, right? When I go from football to basketball to baseball. And I think the biggest thing is to your point, is the people, because I can go to the same, shoot, we were just in College Station a couple of weeks ago and found my favorite steakhouse in the country probably 12 years ago and got to know the owner. And we went back for the Texas baseball series, and it was, gosh, how are we going to get a table for 8 people on a Friday night in College Station? I said, I think I can make that work, fellas. And it sounds really basic and simple when you just talking about a steakhouse, but rolling in and knowing the same people and
Oh, yeah.
and being able to sit down and BS about football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is. And I've always thought that, just as a viewer and as a fan myself, quick story. My dad is from southeastern Kansas, and there's a town down near where he was raised called Osawatomie, Kansas.
Okay.
And we were at home one day watching old Big Eight football and watching a Kansas State game, and some, you know, probably senior who'd only played a dozen snaps in his career makes a tackle for the first time. And the announcer says, "Oh, that's Tim Smith from Osawatomie." And I immediately turned to my dad. I said, "That's not how you say it."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Nope, sure isn't." And I felt for the kid and his family. Like, here's his moment. Here's the one tackle in his K-State career, and they butchered the name. And so I always take that seriously. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not perfect. I'm not close to perfect, but I take that seriously. And my baseball partners make fun of me for referencing high schools on a regular basis. I thought it was really cool when a kid from my high school was playing basketball at the University of Missouri and he got in a game and Ron Franklin, whoever it was, mentioned Columbia, Missouri, Rockbridge High School. Like, that was really cool that the
Yeah.
announcer, and whether he knows where that high school is or knows anybody else who went there,
Didn't
that
matter.
to me showed that he cared enough to mention it. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think when you get ingrained in a league like that, it's easy to show people your appreciation for who they are and the work they put in and what it means to them, because I still think it's a big deal.
You went to Missouri, my friend. So you now get to go back to your alma mater and you get to call games in the SEC, which is pretty damn cool. Tom Hart, our guest here on Show Pony Live. Oh, before I forget, that QR
Yeah,
code that's in the
yeah.
upper right-hand corner, for people that want to scan that, that'll take you to the sign up for Show Pony University. I'm starting that Wednesday. I had 3 more people sign up the other day. I'm going to teach people, Tom, how to do this, how to do sports radio and podcast, and how to put together a topic tree, how to organize your thoughts. Everybody wants to do this stuff. Everybody wants to get on, and they're always like, what equipment do I need? That's not what you need to know. Anybody can figure that out. You need to know how to put together thoughts. You need to know how to organize yourself, how to use sound, how to interview people. Those are the things that separate you from different podcasts out there. Everybody can get the StreamYard thing and have the fancy QR codes and all that. So a couple spots open for those that want to get involved. Tom doesn't need to do it, but if you scan the QR code, you can get into Show Pony University, which starts on Wednesday. We got a couple spots left, and we get going 8 p.m. on May 6th. Scan that for the details, and I'll send you an email with all the login and all that. All right, Tom. Missouri. You went to one of the great broadcast schools in America. I was not smart enough to get in, nor was I smart enough to go to Syracuse. So I got my degree from Middle Tennessee State. But here I am, right? I made the most of it. But what was Missouri? I keep hearing about Missouri, their history, their value in the news world. Give me some background here on Missouri's place in the world of broadcasting, specifically sports broadcasting.
Well, there are so many great broadcasters that have come out of the Missouri Journalism School, and they use a method called the Missouri method, and it's basically about it being intellectually curious. And I'm boiling it down, and I could go through the entire list of great broadcasters, newspaper writers, reporters, guys in our era. Wright Thompson is a Mizzou grad. His books are amazing. His Tiger Woods bio was just mind blowing. The Emmett Till story is great. He's a very talented writer. John Anderson, who's now a professor at Missouri. Show Pony, here's the dirty little secret. And I got the baseball helmet there. I've got the football helmet
Nice.
down here. You can probably see some.
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough to get in the J school. I was a bartender in college. I went to the University of Missouri, and I kind of found my way into this business by making it up on my own, so to speak.
Nice.
I would have really benefited from learning from a guy like John Anderson. There is no doubt about it. But I was too busy, slinging drinks and watching games with my buddies, and didn't really understand the value of the classroom learning.
Yeah.
So my path was a Kipling poem in that regard, but I kind of figured it out on my own, and I think I'm better for it, because I think the biggest thing that broadcasters need to learn, and this probably applies to a lot of different professional fields, is you've got to learn to be your own harshest critic. You've got to be able to figure out what works and understand and hear or see when you're getting off of that path and go, oh, hold up, this isn't working right now. And I called minor league baseball for a number of years. And the beauty of that was I was on the air every single night. And every night on the bus ride, I would listen to my tape and I would identify what didn't work.
Did you really?
Yeah, every night.
Oh my God, I can't handle but listen to my voice. It's horrible.
But buddy, I was the
listening to
same
my
way.
voice.
I was the same, and I thought, and that's what made me better as a young broadcaster.
Oh.
I should watch
Good
more
for
of my
you.
games now. I don't watch my games now. I honestly, I'm on to the next one. I want to hear what somebody else has learned about a team,
Good for you,
especially
man.
during the football season. But I learned that the only way I was going to get better is to invest in myself. We all need a mentor. We all need a rabbi. We need somebody to show us the way and direct the path. But nobody is going to care as much about your career as you will.
Yeah.
So you better take on a lot of that accountability yourself, and you better be real with yourself and say, you know what, last night I sucked. And that was a bad broadcast, and here are the reasons why fundamentally it was bad, and here's what I can do to fix it. Or maybe I just need to sand down the rough edges. Well, how do I do that? Where do I find, no one's going to be perfect, but where can I find a more efficient path? And so I think well, no matter what field you're in, by the way, I think to be your own harshest critic and to learn what's right and what works, then allows you to improve.
Tom Hart with us here from ESPN. We love Tom Hart, big star. Calls the SEC on ESPN and the SEC network and all that kind of stuff. By the way, for more insight into the sports media business, subscribe to showponymedia.com. Been talking to all kinds of experts in the field and going behind our stories on Full Ride and Rick and I and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a lot of fun doing that. And you can check it out, showponymedia.com. And do not forget, my friends, Igniter tickets. You go to that upper left-hand little, what is that called, Tom? A QR code?
QR code. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it today.
You scan that, full service. It's unbelievable what they got going on at Igniter tickets. These guys, if you've got like a sporting event coming up and you need a ticketing service, they got you. You got like a school play and you're like, how the hell am I going to sell the tickets? Igniter's going to take care of everything. All that stuff. Scan the QR code, upper left. These guys are professional as hell and they'll get it done. And they're not going to be all weird like Ticketmaster. Believe me, these guys will be great. Go to ignitertickets.com. All right, Tom Hart, let us talk. You taught yourself, you said, right? You were in a world of, so you were minor league baseball. How the hell did you even get to minor league baseball? How did you find your way?
That is a great question, and it's one of my favorite stories. So,
yes, please.
My best friend's brother lived in Columbia, South Carolina. We lived in Columbia, Missouri. Most of our friends had, post-grad plans or grad school, whatever, and we were just, to be honest, we were just kind of floundering. And one day he says to me, he goes, "Hey, how about we go live with my brother for the summer?" I go, "What are we going to do?" And he goes, "I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll get a job at Applebee's."
Yeah.
A job at Apple. That's what we're going to do. So I said, yeah, screw it. Let's do it. So we jump in the car. We drive like 22 hours from Columbia, Missouri to Columbia, South Carolina. And I set up a visit with Mark Bryant, then the play-by-play voice of the Capital City Bombers in Columbia, South Carolina, South Atlantic League. And I said, "Hey, here's my background. I may have fudged a little bit. I may have let him believe that I was a J school student when I really wasn't."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'd love to come job shadow you." And he said, "Well, we don't need interns." I said, "Nah, I get it. I just want to shadow you.
Yeah.
Come shadow you for a game." And I was very persistent. And he said, "Yeah, come along." So I show up for a game, and they're playing I believe they're playing the Greensboro Bats that day. And the first day I show up, they get rained out. But it's a long, lengthy rain delay. And he finally looks at me at one point and he goes, "Hey, just a bit of advice. What would be great is networking. Jeff McGarricker, who's still in the industry, he's the voice of the Bats. You should go talk to him. He's not doing anything. He's sitting in the booth during a rain delay." Great idea. So I go down, I introduce myself to Jeff. We hang out for a little while. I learn his story, I learn his background, yada, yada. The game, they finally banged the game at like 9:00. Walk out of the office. I said, "Well, Mark," I said, "didn't get a chance to hear you call a game. See you tomorrow." And he goes, "Yeah, no problem. We'll play tomorrow." Come back for the game the next day, rained out again. So then I go, "Okay, well, guess I'll see you Thursday." I come back Thursday. Now it's a new team in town. Now you get a chance to meet a new guy. I think that was Josh Wetzel, who's now doing games in Buffalo. And get to know Josh a little bit. That game gets rained out.
Come on.
Now I've shown up 4 straight days.
Yeah.
And I finally get a chance to listen to him call a game. And I said, I don't know how long the homestand was. I said, "Okay, I guess we'll see you tomorrow." And he's like, "Well, we don't really." Boom, I'm out the door. Well, he had 2 interns working for him. And later on that summer, once again, I just show up. I literally just show up and hang out in the press box. And there's an emergency with the picnic group that he has booked in the Pepsi pavilion down the right field line. They ran out of pulled pork or something.
Yeah.
And the lady shows up and she says, "Mark, you got to go service your group. There's a massive issue down there. 500 people having this picnic." And he goes, "I'm in the middle of the game." And he turns to this male intern. He had a male and a female intern. I forget the kid's name. And he goes, "Okay, Bobby, just put on the headset and call the game. And Mark runs out of the side of the press box. And as soon as he leaves, I sit down next to Bobby and I put on the other headset. I go, I got it. You just shut up. I got it. And he goes, well, he told me to. Welcome back to Capital City Stadium, Bombers. And I just did it. And I just forced my way in.
That's
and
awesome.
I called that inning or those 2 innings or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And Mark showed back up and he went, what are you doing? I was like, Bobby wasn't quite ready. I figured I'd help out. Here's the headset. Boom. That was the beginning. That was a bit. I felt like if I didn't take advantage of my opportunity, I'm just going to let this slappy call a couple innings. He's never going to do this for real. He's just, trying to get 3 credit hours.
Yeah. So what happened after that?
So
you
after
got
that,
your first experience.
Got my first experience. I had a little bit of schooling left. Mark wanted to come off the road. They offered me an internship to do all the road games that next season. I did every road game. Well, he did the first 2 in Charleston, South Carolina, because he wanted to take his wife to Sticky Fingers. And so he said, I'm going to go down there. We're going to do those games, and then it's all yours. And then
nice
baptism by fire, man. Like, you just learn. You learn if you're good, you learn what's bad, and you learn what it's supposed to sound like. So a lot of time on the Walkman, on the buses, listening to, Skip and Pete call Braves games as we're traveling throughout the Southeast and try to figure out what I was supposed to know and what I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I had a passion for it and the drive to do it, to get paid peanuts. I just didn't know what the roadmap was going to look like.
I completely understand that, but you just got to find your way and work your ass off and hope for the best. Tom Hart, our guest. So before I let you go, you start in the minor leagues, you end up with the 4-letter network. You end up with the Holy Grail. You end up calling SEC games. How did you get there? How does one get the break at ESPN?
I was basically getting let go somewhere else. They were going to peel back my conscience. So I'd been at a couple TV spots. I started at CSTV, All-Star Cast. All-Star. I mean, you'd like turn it on and all these guys and gals are all over the place. Greg Amzinger and Michelle Beadle and, guys that are still at CBS, a ton of them. Aaron Taylor, I was doing games with at one point. Trev Albert's now the AD at A&M. So CSTV, Adam Zucker was there. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, all these superstars. And then me floundering around like a clown. So CSTV beget another one. There was actually some regional television, CSS. You probably remember that from the Southeast.
Oh, yeah. I watched it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And did some stuff around there. Then I ended up at Big Ten Network. And I spent 2 years at Big Ten Network and climbed the ladder because I kind of came in as a guy. And next thing you know, our crew had earned its way to doing the best game of the weekend. But they wanted to kind of mix things up. And the boss was really cool. And he's like, hey, listen, here's what we're going to do. I know you got a family. I'm not taking your contract away. You got an option year. He's like, we're not going to let you go, but we're probably going to dial you back. And maybe you won't do, 12 or 13 football games. And I said, I can't call myself a college football announcer if I'm sitting on my couch. And so actually got in a cab to O'Hare, called my agent, said, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, let me call ESPN. And talent guy, still there, was at CSTV before. He goes, man, we'd love to have him. And then boom, I just the timing of it, I was lucky enough to be motivated to leave one spot. And I think the danger in this industry, and I know you know this, is we get to places where we get really comfortable and you then ask yourself, well, am I really experiencing growth or do I want to take that risk of growth? And so it's helpful when somebody says, okay, eventually, but basically what I was told is find somebody else who loves you more.
Yeah.
And so I went and did that. And then that took a lot of work to get to where I am now. But I think that's a good lesson to not get too comfortable some places.
Good advice. And God knows I'm quite comfortable where I've been for 20 something years. Tom Hart, you are the absolute best. We will say goodbye Not before I solicit, though, and tell everybody about Igniter tickets. Scan this QR code. The episode that you've been listening to is brought to you by Igniter tickets, whether it's a stadium or a local venue. Igniter delivers affordable, powerful ticketing solutions for every single event. Just scan this QR code now to see how they can help you unlock smarter ticketing, stronger branding, and standout experiences. Igniter, the software behind your sellout. Thank you, Igniter, for sponsoring. Tom Hart.
Hey,
Yes.
before I go, I've never asked you this question.
Yeah.
Where did Show Pony come from?
Yeah, so that Show Pony comes from, you know, those mock committee things they do
Yeah.
down for like in Fort Worth. So I was invited back when ESPN radio was a thing at the beginning of it, when we thought like it would be a great partnership for everybody. And I was invited to be like, this is when SiriusXM really valued me and was pushing me and like making me think I was going to be like a big part of the roster. And so the guy, but this was under a different boss who got fired and actually ended up blaming me for getting fired. And it's a whole complicated, weird thing, even though he was the biggest, guy in my corner and I never would have done that. But he said to me when I went to the thing in Dallas for the mock playoff committee, it was with Laura Rutledge and El Duncan and Kevin Agandi and Stanford Steve and all these people. And he says, I need you to go be my show pony. And I said that to Rick, and Rick that was it. Off to the races with the show pony nickname. He's like, yes.
So good.
That's it.
So,
yeah.
Listen, the best nicknames are the ones that fit and aren't forced.
That's what happened.
I love it. That's just so great.
That's what happened.
I hate talking about myself, so I wanted to hear.
No,
something.
Thank you. I enjoyed your time. You've given me some time, and thanks for being a part of the show. And I promise you, I'll be asking you. I went a little kind of surface level because I want to go deeper and deeper, because I guarantee you I'm going to be begging you at times to come on the show.
Hey, you're cheaper than therapy, brother. I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, pal. Appreciate it. Everybody go subscribe to my website, showponymedia.com, for more insight into college sports and the sports media business. And if you want to get into sports radio, podcasting, sports media, my 4-week class starts on Wednesday. That QR code in the upper right, scan there. Tom Hart, thank you, pal. We are done on Show Ponies. All right, what is it? What am I calling it? I've called it like 5 different things. Show Pony Live. Goodbye.